Good evening and welcome to the NDTV Dialogues, a conversation of ideas. This week, the big idea is on the government's new anti-surrogacy bill, which basically shuts down an entire rented womb industry. Why has India done this? It's joined to a large number of countries around the world which have banned commercial surrogacy. But though the intention may be good, have we actually created more problems for us? Are we becoming a nanny state? Look at some of the rules now. Only a close relative can be a surrogate. There's absolutely no commercial surrogacy. Also no single parents, no divorcees allowed to use surrogacy at all. Only one child. Let's just listen to what Sushma Swaraj said.
मुझे दुख है ये बात कहते हुए कि जो चीज जरूरत के नाम पर शुरू की गई थी वो अब शौक बन गई है। कितने ही ऐसे उदाहरण हमारे सामने और बड़ी सेलिब्रिटीज के हैं जिनका अपना बच्चा एक नहीं दो दो हैं और बेटा और बेटी दोनों हैं, तो भी उन्होंने सरोगेट चाइल्ड किया है। तो ये जरूरत के लिए तो है अनुमति, शौक के लिए नहीं है। अविवाहित को अनुमति नहीं होगी, सिंगल पेरेंट की अनुमति नहीं होगी, लिव इन रिलेशनशिप की अनुमति नहीं होगी, होमोसेक्सुअल कपल्स को अनुमति नहीं होगी। कानूनी रूप से मेल एंड फीमेल लीगली वेडेड कपल्स को ही ये अनुमति दी जाएगी।
What are the implications of this? Is it ethically right? Does it completely fail to recognize the reality of the modern Indian family? I am joined by a special panel on this. Joining me is Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, Director General of the Council of Medical Research, and of course, that drafted the bill. She's also Secretary in the Ministry of Health. I'm also joined by Dr. Anirudh Malpani, one of the most prominent anti-fertility specialists in India. Vani Tripathi Tikku, she's an activist, she's also with the BJP. I'm also joined by Tavleen Singh, journalist and columnist, Dr. Shivani Sachdev Kaur. Again, she's Secretary of the Delhi Indian Society of Assisted Reproductive Health. I'm also joined, importantly, by the people who are most impacted by this. I'm joined by young women, Salma and Anu, both of whom have had surrogate babies. I'm also joined by two parents who have had their children through surrogacy, Payal Kohli and Viraj Mahajan, a single dad of two boys. Thank you all very much for being part of this. सलमा जी, अनु जी, पहले मैं आपसे पूछूंगी, आप क्या कहेंगे इसके बारे में और क्या आप सोचते हो कि ये अभी एक बिजनेस बन गया था और आप सोचते हो कि आप एक्सप्लॉइट हुए थे?
बच्चे जरूरत भी है, शौक भी है हर इंसान के। जिसके बच्चे नहीं होता उसको बच्चे की चाह होती है। हम भी बच्चे वाले हैं, हम भी माँ बाप बने हैं। जिसका नहीं होता उसको पता है। अब ये सरकार तय नहीं करेगी किसको बच्चा चाहिए नहीं चाहिए, ये तो माँ बाप को ही पता होता है। जो हम पाल सकते हैं, बच्चे रख सकते हैं, तभी ना सरोगेट कराते कोई भी। ऐसे तो बहुत सारे इंडिया में नाले में कूड़े में पड़े होते हैं, ऐसे तो नहीं है जो हम करते हैं।
और जितने सरोगेसी को हम जानते हैं, ये किसी ने भी शौक से जो बच्चा सरोगेसी करने चाहते हैं उन कपल को किसी ने भी नहीं दिया है बच्चे। और बच्चे जो कपल ऐसे कपल आते हैं, किसी के 10-12 साल से बच्चे नहीं होते, बच्चे के लिए वो इतने बुढ़े भी हो गए हैं पर वो माँ बाप नहीं बन पाते हैं।
आपके लिए मुश्किल नहीं है जब आप माँ बने हैं और फिर बच्चे कहीं और जाता है, आपके लिए ये मुश्किल नहीं है?
नहीं, मैं तो पहले शुरू में अपना बच्चे था, अपने बच्चे की माँ तो बन चुकी हूँ, पर किसी कोई बच्चे नहीं है उसको माँ बनाना था। तो शुरू से हम लोग को ये होता है कि ये हम किसी को एक गिफ्ट से किसी को देना है, या किसी का गिफ्ट हमारा पास जो कि हम एक दिन करते हैं तो महीने गिनते हैं, वो पूरा साल गिनती करते हैं, हमारा इंतज़ार करते हैं कि कब हमारा बच्चा आएगा। वो हमसे ज़्यादा भी परेशान होते हैं। हम तो अपने बच्चे पेट में होता है तो सुख से होते हैं कि हमारा 2-3 महीना है, निकल जाएगा। वो उनको 2-3 महीने काटने के लिए भी 2-3 साल जैसा लगता है, गुजरता है। तो हमें ये नहीं दुख होता है कि हम किसी को बच्चे दे रहे हैं। उनका बच्चा है उनको देते, पर उनका बच्चे नहीं हो रहा है किसी कारण से। बच्चे माँ बाप नहीं बन पा रहे, पर हमारे अंदर वो शक्ति था, वो क्षमता था, तो हमारा हो गया। इसलिए हम खुशी से देते। हम उनका बच्चा है पर हमने उनका रख दिया है।
अनु जी, ये जो कहते हैं कि ये बाजार बन गया है कि कितना की कीमत कितना है, कि जैसे आप ये कर रही है, एक बिजनेस बन गया है। डॉक्टर लोग को सबसे ज़्यादा पैसे मिलेगा, जो एक्चुअल मदर है, सरगेट मदर, उनको एक थोड़ा सा मिलेगा। आप सोचते नहीं है कि ये बच्चे का और जब ये माँ बच्चे का रिलेशनशिप में ये व्यापार कैसे हो सकता है?
नहीं, व्यापार नहीं है। हम तो इसे भी काम करके अपना गुजारा कर ही लेते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है। इतने पैसे से हम पूरा ज़िंदगी हमारी नहीं बदलती है। हाँ, कुछ तो बदलती है। जब हम 1 साल रेस्ट करके बैठते हैं घर पे, सैलरी के तौर पे हम पैसा लेते हैं, इसमें गलत क्या है?
इसमें गलत क्या है? Payal Kohli, I want to bring you in here because interestingly, you've also been, of course, an editor of a children's magazine. So you've dealt a lot with children's issues, mothers who've gone through this, and you've actually have a child through a surrogate mother yourself as well. Yeah. Luckily, you are married, so you fit into the new bill norms.
For 5 years.
Not for 5 years.
Married 4 years. But no, Sonia, the thing is that for us, it was a medical progression. We conceived naturally, we conceived through IVS. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to carry the baby. So on a doctor's recommendation, with a trust that was recommended by my doctor, whom I respect hugely, who were amazing with me through a difficult process, because having a baby when you can't have a baby, half of India has babies effortlessly, but for people who don't understand what psychological, hormonal, various traumas, everybody has an individual journey. What happens is that for us it was a medical sort of progression. So therefore this didn't work, and therefore this is a possible solution. Fortunately, we had frozen embryos, and our doctor recommended that, now that, and I was getting older as the process, because your body needs to recover between, pregnancies that go wrong. So we opted for surrogacy. Fortunately for us, it worked. But at no point did I feel that my rights to explore whatever was humanly possible or medically possible with modern science were curbed. It wasn't, I never thought that, okay, I can pay someone to carry my baby. It was just a medical solution, like you have medical solutions to other problems, medical problems.
Exploitative.
I didn't think it was exploitative. In fact, it seemed a bit surreal because, when you go through this journey and someone else is carrying your baby, and, we are talking about 5 years ago when I went through this, it feels a bit surreal, and it feels, you have a whole lot of emotions that go through you. But at the same time, the gratitude that the surrogate's husband, because I never saw the surrogate after the baby was born, because that was the policy of the hospital. She was in a different wing. We were just monitoring her progress when she went back to the surrogate home after the delivery to recover fully. And the husband was hugely, when we thanked him, how do you even thank somebody for something like this? He was thanking us. Because he said, with the money, I'll be able to educate my children, whatever. Everybody has a different, need, requirement, whatever it is. Both of them are doing it for a reason. Some may do it. If you do it altruistically, within the family, you're doing it to help somebody out.
So there's so different. Dr. Swaminathan, I'd like to bring you in because we just heard these different aspects to surrogate mothers, parents who've had children through surrogacy. Talk of why they feel this bill is actually setting a completely wrong precedent, that it's shutting down something which they feel is actually life-giving. Why did you as ICMR head think this bill was so important, and rather than regulation, it's virtually a ban on commercial surrogacy?
Yes. So the first clarification is that this bill, doesn't put an end to surrogacy. That was an option for us. Many countries have done it. In fact, most countries in Europe, there's a total ban on surrogacy. Majority of countries in the world have a ban on commercial surrogacy, except for 3 or 4. Count them on one hand, all around Russia and the former Soviet Union. We were the only other country, and therefore we'd become the world's hub for commercial surrogacy. Now, our view is that surrogacy has a place in the lives of infertile couples, those who need children. There are many other interventions and options available, including adoption, that I think we should talk much more about. But there is a need and a place for surrogacy, and therefore we didn't want to close the door completely. Indian couples should have that option, and therefore it's been kept open. Altruistic surrogacy has been going on in a number of countries, including the UK, and in fact in India there are a number of hospitals which have been practicing only altruistic surrogacy, and family members have been volunteering to be the surrogate mothers. So I would not say that we've put an end to surrogacy in India, but we've restricted it because we don't want it to be the first choice for couples who want a child.
Some of the clauses, and especially I think that strong press conference which rule the people who can't avail of this, even if you say it's altruistic, single parents, divorces, etc. And I have Viraj Mahajan, who's a single father. Viraj, when you feel that your single status means that you can't have children via surrogacy, why not adopt, or why not look at other options? What would you say?
I wanted my own biological children. And I don't see anybody has a right to tell me that I have to adopt and I can't have a biological child or children.
Let me get in other views now. Tivleen, you've said...
I would like to ask, why do other countries matter so much? Why are we not taking the ground reality of our own country? I just heard Sushma Swaraj, right? She's going on to, what do you call it? Shah Rukh Khan has 2 children, a boy and a girl, is going on to celebrities. Why are we not taking the masses? We're talking about people who have a problem, approach them, set up a panel with people like her, like me, and people like all of you, and see what is the ground reality. None of us have gotten into, I haven't had children to exploit anybody, a woman or anybody. Set up a panel. I want to be a part of that panel, and let's move forward and see that nobody is harmed in the process, including me, or people like me.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, go ahead.
So the ground reality in India is very different from other countries, and that's precisely the point. Studies have shown that 99.9% of women who volunteer for or who are now surrogate mothers in India are illiterate, belong to the poorest sections of society, and have no clue of the positives and the negatives of what. Of course, it's an income. 50,000 or 1 lakh is a large amount of money for a woman who's struggling to survive. That doesn't mean that it becomes a livelihood option for our women. And so it's not to take away anybody's right to have a child, but it's to protect those women and the babies that were being born, and that are any number of cases of abandonment that this law has been brought.
Tivleen, your views on this. Is it stigmatizing certain people? Is it protecting women? Is it a bill for the larger good?
It is of a piece, in my view, with officials interfering in dance bars and restricting the right of women to do what they have a right to do with their bodies. If these 2 ladies feel that they would like to use their wombs to be surrogate mothers, I don't think some little official sitting in the health ministry, they can't provide basic health in this country. Our hospitals are a disgrace, right? Give us what all these other countries that you're using as an example. First, give me health standards of that country. Give me the rights of that country. Give me employment for these women of those countries, and then we can discuss it. Why do we always, in this ridiculous way...
But are ethics different for rich and poor countries?
No. There isn't an ethical issue involved. There is the rights of women involved, as far as I'm concerned. And the way in which you have now stigmatized single parents, who are they to stigmatize anybody? Everyone has the right to have a child. Everybody. And I don't believe that officials have the right to, to make these decisions. And the manner in which it was presented by the Minister of External Affairs, who I didn't know had anything to do with the health ministry, was really unpleasant.
Well, I think it may be unfair to blame officials, as this was actually piloted by 2 very strong ministers, the health minister, Mr. Nadda, and Sushma Swaraj. The point of external is because I think of the foreign tourism angle which had come into having babies. Advani, come in on this, because as an activist, you have strong views. But what we heard Sushma Swaraj say, it's against our Indian ethos when they asked that why should homosexuals, or why should single parents, or why should divorcees, or even single mothers not have the same rights as any other Indian citizen?
Sonia, there are a couple of very dense realities actually attached to, this whole, I rather look at it from a realm of the women reproductive health sector, in the country.
But it has been blurred with Indian ethos.
One of the most important thing is it will become an emotion versus commerce debate. And Sonia, there is lesser emotion than lots of commerce. I'll give you a statistic, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know about it. The surrogacy, and I hate to use the word industry because this is, again, I will be stigmatizing something which we are debating here tonight. It's a $2.3 billion, vertical in the country, and not 1/10 of that gets passed to the women, as Swaminathan ji said. These 68% of surrogate mothers in Delhi, I'm giving you a real figure, and 72% in Mumbai are household helpers. So, are we looking at economic emancipation of some kind? And coming to what Viraj said, yes, as a single parent, as a single man, he may feel this is his right, but does he understand that why this is also something of adoption versus surrogacy? in terms of gender rights perspective, and because I work with these women,
But then, Vani,
this is
will
a
we stop
patriarchal gene we are
IVF?
talking about.
Will we stop
Sonia.
IVF then tomorrow?
No,
because why should someone go for IVF when they can adopt?
If the doctors themselves would not have put themselves in this periphery, there would not have been a situation that, you know, the government has to step in at some point. At the law of the land, you as a professional, you are given a right, but you also have a responsibility. And if you're a medical practitioner, I mean, is it dial S for surrogacy and dial S for India? Has this become to
I'm
the,
going
I
to
mean,
bring
come
in
to
Dr.
that?
Malpani because Dr. Malpani, you are one of the most prominent reproductive specialists first with IVF, and you were in that controversy also a few years ago about gender determination, and when you said that why shouldn't couples be able to choose whether they want to have a boy or a girl. But that same logic, when you say it's the right of choice versus the right of, whether you use the word ethics, whether you use it of morality or just of medical health, the lines are getting blurred and perhaps doctors are going too far.
So I think some of the criticism is valid. I think we need to understand why we've got into this situation. I think we also need to remember that the ICMR has been having discussions with the public and with doctors as to what surrogacy should be allowed and not be allowed. The tragedy, of course, is that you've had discussions for 10 years. The ART bill has been in complete limbo, and that bill said no altruistic surrogacy, only commercial surrogacy. The logic being is that mother-in-laws would pressurize family members to become surrogates even if they didn't want to. And my only point is that everyone seems to think that Indian women who are poor are stupid and cannot make decisions for themselves, which is why the government needs to step in. But my point is going to be slightly different. I think in one sense we have to accept the fact that the government felt the need. We can't just assume all IVF clinics are good. The reality is that some of them have done this, which is why matters came to the government and the government decided to step in. We've had enough of these stories of these stateless children which are effectively abandoned. And then whose baby is it to manage that? My point is the solution which you're offering, you know, set up a bill, set up a commission, do all this, is a very expensive solution which really I don't think our country can afford, given the fact that you have limited resources and it's going to affect a small number of couples. So here's an effective alternative which allows regulations, which respects the right of people to do surrogacy for medically indicated reason, and that is you already have a central adoption resource agency which is a nodal agency to help couples to adopt a baby. Why not allow that same agency to be the nodal agency for surrogacy? Which means if a couple decided they wanted to go surrogacy, they would register with the CARA. The CARA would say adoption is an option. We are social workers. We have no vested interest, no financial interest. So the doctor would refer the people to CARA. They would explain both the options. Then the couple would say, fine, we understand, we want to go to the surrogacy option. The CARA would then screen the surrogate moms to make sure that they weren't exploited. So the money would then go into an escrow account. So the doctor is then no longer making, what has the criticism been? That IVF doctors are getting rich on the backs of these poor women by exploiting them. Now, I'm sure some doctors are good and won't do that, but how can you be sure that all doctors will be equally good? And this way, if the money goes into an escrow account, I think everyone's interests get served. The IVF doctor does what he's good at, which is the medical procedure. The surrogate, because she's protected by the CARA, gets the money which is due to her, and there's adequate counseling and checks and balances built in.
But let me just ask this, Dr. Gaur, because I mean, if you go by rough estimates, they say the cost for, say, surrogacy would be any 10 lakhs and beyond, whereas the mother who's actually did, the surrogate mother would get at the maximum about 2 lakh rupees and probably less. How are those figures? And that's really when you talk about unfairness and the fact that the women who are opting for this, as you made the point, often work as household helps or feel that this changes their life. They go through the worst part of it, and the rest, the people making money are the ones in between, or the doctors.
See, first of all, this $2.3 billion figure that has come as a random figure. There's actually no scientific study or anything. Nobody knows. So somebody has quoted it. Sounds very sensational. So the fact is not true. That is actually not at all the entire figure. I'm 100% sure, because there's an agency called FRRO through which you can actually find out how many babies are born and the payments. They ask everything over there. So you can get...
That's only for foreigners, not for Indians.
Yes, but the majority of the cases were being done at that time when the figure came out. It was majority of the cases were being done for foreigners themselves. Then secondly, when you talk about the payment for the surrogate mother, that's not entirely true. The payment that they get is anywhere between 3 to 5 lakhs. It's a minimum amount of 3, because even women have a choice of which fertility clinic they will go to. There are so many in Delhi, so they can go to one which offers them a compensation that they like. A woman who is voting, who is signing a contract, being a laborer or a maid, cannot understand how it is to do a surrogacy contract is a bit contradictory. If she can do one of that, why she can't do one of the other things?
The whole aspect of a body or a baby being used for this kind of bargaining across is not, you don't find that distasteful or unethical.
But then that means that you are against the concept of surrogacy itself. Then why do you allow altruistic also?
Which means
it means that you are actually allowing altruistic, means you are not against the concept of surrogacy or somebody carrying the baby. What bothers you is the money. If it is too less, fix a compensation, fix an amount, they will get this much. Then you talk about commercialization.
Premises, you're all right with commodifying motherhood, and it becomes almost like human trafficking. You're bargaining a price for, and also Sonia, remember, it is not about the cost. Just one thing, Virat, just let me complete.
Do you have
just
children?
let me complete. Just let me complete.
When you're talking
Do you have
about
children?
commercialization,
But do you want to have children?
Obviously, I do.
Yeah. Well, I think that what we're missing out here is the right of every human being to fulfill that need to have a child.
Tavleenji, tell me, where is the right being taken away? How is it being taken away?
It's being taken away. I'm a single parent. So I can't have a child.
You can adopt. There are many other ways. You can
Who are
have
you to
IVF.
tell me whether I
You
should
can
adopt?
have your
I
own
want
child.
my own child.
You can have your own child. You see,
How?
unless you're
No,
infertile.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, if you're a man, you
Adoption
If you're a man, you can't, but that
adoption
raises
is
a lot of
very
other
complicated
issues.
as
Whose
well,
ovum,
by the way.
whose sperm, which body. And you see, adoption is a good alternative. I mean, there are thousands of
but not to
unwanted.
him.
Not to me.
Well,
Who are you to decide?
I think that this whole discourse of, the genetic parentage in India and the social stigma that's attached to infertility, I think we need to talk about that. Why are we getting
Come
fixated
on again,
on
lecturing human beings.
I think doctors,
officials telling people what to do. He
It's
wants
not
to have his own.
officials.
Of course
it should
it
be a
is.
social debate.
No, you haven't
the
been able
stigma
to
of-
provide basic health care in this country.
I agree.
And you're
That's not
bothering
related to
about
this.
this. You haven't been able to provide employment. And this is our
Well,
concern.
do you know that women have died because after being a surrogate
mothers
mother?
have
That's
their
part
own
of
pregnancy.
health.
but then I don't think you can blame Dr. Swaminathan as such for not providing
Sonia,
employment.
one little thing. It's not about just the cost of delivering a baby or having a baby. You're looking after the surrogate mother. Also, we know that she's also being physically implanted into better facilities like flats all over, in big cities. What happens to her after, the baby is born? Are we actually, is it actually the welfare of women that we are looking at?
But actually,
I mean, what are we talking about
But
here?
the irony, Vani, is that the women whose welfare it's meant to be are the women who are speaking out against it. But just to ask you, because also the whole complicated thing is that when from ethics, this has gone to some kind of morality drama or something about the kind of people who are allowed to be these parents. Do we think there's an ideal Indian parent or an ideal this thing that homosexuals can't, single parents
Sonia,
can't,
there it's
divorcees
a
can't?
very
Any one of
simple-
us could be divorced
Sonia,
tomorrow. What
it's
does
a
it do
very
with having
simple
children?
judicial legal thing. If gay marriages were accepted by law in the country, I'm sure there would have been another view that the government would have taken.
But why do
it
you
has
have to be
nothing to
married?
do
Forget
with.
gay
I
or
mean, we
single-
are anyway grappling with the whole
But why do you have to be
decriminalization.
married? Forget gay
No,
or not.
no,
Exactly. Single parents can adopt.
Every
Gays
cell
can
in
adopt.
our body wants to
So
reproduce.
because they can adopt, your right to have children and right to access, to have children is not being taken away.
If you want to regulate it, prevent women under the age of 16, which, is fair. But, adult women, these are adult women. आपको नहीं लगता कि जो ये कानून बन रहा है, ये आपके अधिकार छीन रहा है? क्योंकि आपका हक है ये फैसला लेना कि आप ये सरोगेसी करना चाहते हैं कि नहीं? वैसे भी बेरोजगारी है।
दिया जाए इसी पैसे के साथ वो भी करेंगे वो।
क्या करेंगे वो? क्या करेंगे?
और कोई स्किल अगर उनको दिया जाए।
I think let them speak. Let them speak. सलमा जी और फिर सलमा जी आप क्या कहेंगे?
आज तक किसी ने सरोगेसी को पता है कि ये सरोगेसी चल रहा है, सरोगेसी हो रहा है, तो किसी ने ये नहीं पूछा है कि सरोगेसी मदर्स को कि क्या तकलीफ है, नहीं है, किसका शोषण हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा है, हम लोग से जाके कभी किसी ने पूछा ही नहीं है। ऐसे जाके कानून बना रहे हैं कि सरोगेसी के लिए शोषण हो रहा है। अगर सरोगेसी के लिए इनका इतना चिंता था, इतना फिक्र था, तो इनको किसी न किसी मार्फत से हम लोग से बात कर सकते थे, हमारा आवाज़ सुन सकते थे कि हम सही में शोषण में पड़ रहे हैं कि नहीं है। हम अपनी खुशी से कर रहे हैं या किसी के ज़बरदस्ती से कर रहे हैं, ये कर सकते थे, आज तक ये नहीं हुआ है।
अनु जी,
हम अपने आज़ादी छीन रहे हैं ना, या हम अपनी मर्जी के करना चाहते हैं।